Welcome to Operation American Dream. I'm your host, Amy Scruggs. This has been an absolutely fantastic year of having the privilege and the blessing of hosting this show. We have had incredible guests come through here. We've had war heroes. We've had incredible people doing community outreach. We have had laughs. There have been tears. And all around, it's been a time of really making new friendships and new partnerships in our world of reaching our heroes. We have talked about VA homeownership. We have talked about recreational therapy, PTSD, brain injury, and all kinds of stuff that has brought awareness, not just to myself, but hopefully to you, the viewer. I have put together right now an opportunity to see some of the best, I think the best, of this year of Operation American Dream as we now prepare for 2018 and the great guests that we have ahead. So I want to take a chance to reflect back and look at some highlights of some of the best guests that we had here on this show. So we're going to go ahead and feature some of those right now. The first segment I really want to showcase is a gentleman named Robert Blanton. Not only is he also a hero who served in our military for 20 plus years, but he took that time of service now and is doing outreach that's making a difference in so many veterans' lives with recreational therapy. It's an incredible organization that's known nationwide, and I had the privilege of having him here in the studio to share more about it. Let's take a look. We're back with Operation American Dream. I'm your host today, Amy Scruggs. Warfighter Made is a fantastic nonprofit foundation based out of Temecula, California, that has gone to the extremes to make a difference for our veterans. I have Rob Blanton, who is the founder and president of Warfighter Made. Thank you so much for coming on and driving down here today.
Well, thanks for having us.
So excited to meet you.
Great opportunity. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Seeing and knowing what you guys do for our veterans, I want to get right into the foundation. First of all, 21-year Marine, you served our country. Thank you so much for your service and for doing that.
It was a pleasure to serve. The
passion that you have now for giving back and seeing the need. So tell us what Warfighter Made is and what you guys do specifically.
Absolutely. So Warfighter Made is a all-volunteer, veteran-based nonprofit, and we provide recreational therapy for ill, injured, and combat wounded veterans. And we originally started that by adapting and customizing vehicles for catastrophically injured warfighters. Veterans that became amputees or severely burned due to direct combat with the enemy. And then we started to dabble in off-road therapy. We do a lot of fun stuff with the Lucas Oil Off-Road Racing Series. Polaris Razor is a huge supporter of not just Warfighter Made, but veterans in general. And they donated a bunch of their machines to us. And then we use those machines to reach out to veterans and say, hey, come out on this therapy trip with us. Let's have some fun. But Warfighter Made is really assessing the veteran to kind of find out where they're at in their transition process from military to civilian.
Sure, that's much better than them sitting in a counseling place. They're sitting there, they're having fun and don't even realize that you're doing an assessment as they're also getting some healing therapy with that, right?
Correct. That's absolutely correct. So I tell Polaris all the time, I use you guys so hard just to capture the imagination of the veteran. And we work with men and women from all branches of the armed forces, including the Coast Guard. And for us, it's about giving back. We've all been there. You know, a little bit of my backstory is 2009, I was awarded our nation's third highest award for extraordinary heroism. Later that year, I was also awarded with the diagnosis of severe post-traumatic stress and moderate traumatic brain injury. And I was starting to have a lot of issues. I was in a high-profile billet at that time, and I was starting to spiral out of control. I personally went to seek help and realized that everybody wants to help, but the most easiest instant relief is here, take all these meds. And
Right.
I'm a self-fixer. I don't want to take meds. Unfortunately, after 2 years of trying to self-fix or getting therapies and everything, I had a therapist that finally kind of used my family to say, hey, if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for your family. So I did. Wow. And it turned out to be a horrible mistake. So Warfighter Made was created to prevent or to give veterans other options to therapy other than just immersion therapy, neurofeedback, and certainly medications.
That's incredible. It's so incredible. And I've had the privilege of meeting other foundations that have incredible outreach or different activities or therapy related. How important is it that you guys all know each other to bridge that gap for our veterans?
It is huge because I know what Warfighter Made provides in our mission statement and our bylaws is not necessarily what this veteran here who is lost, needs something, and they come to Warfighter Made however they find us, and they're looking around and they're like, this is cool, but this is not what I'm into. So we partner with all sorts of other veteran-based nonprofits that have basically the same philosophy that we have with direct therapy to the veterans. And there's a lot of amazing ones out there.
Right.
Of course, you have the Semper Fi Fund, America's Fund, which is, in my humble opinion, is what we strive to be. You have Wishes for Warriors, Vet Motorsports, Race for the Wounded, Vet for Vet Outdoor Adventures. I mean, there's just so many great Nucks for Life, so many great nonprofits out there that really want to help, but our budgets are geared directly towards the veteran, not getting the word out. So we're relying on word of mouth and everything.
You're all completely nonprofit, meaning donations have to come in to keep this going for you and all of the other foundations that you guys are trying to keep together to make a difference. It's so important, and I am so glad to have you on today. We've had some other great foundations. Getting you guys connected is so critical because as a whole, we can help start making a difference that's not medication, that's not just putting them somewhere that we don't care. I love what you do for these veterans, and you watch them probably change and grow and light up.
We have some success stories that are fantastic. I mean, I can't sugarcoat it. We've had guys that have attempted suicide, full on, survived. Massive reconstructive surgery afterwards, spent a lot of time in other that have spent a lot of time in jail due to their methods, and now they are my foundation to help give back to others.
Absolutely. The reason you keep doing what you do. Thank you so much. I encourage everybody to reach out to Warfighter Made. Check you guys out online. Support the foundation. Thank you for being here and sharing your story today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be back with more Operation American Dream. The next segment I want to share with you was an amazing, heartfelt story about an orphan from Vietnam during the wartime that not only has a miraculous story of her own on how she came to America, but what she has done to make a difference in the lives of our homeless veterans across the nation. Let's take a look. Welcome back. Kim Mitchell is an amazing American soldier who has an incredible story of her own that was an orphan from Vietnam time. And I am so excited to get to hear her story and bring her in today to share this. Kim, thank you so much.
It's an honor to be here.
Such an honor to meet you today. Your story is incredible. I know a lot of people have read and seen you on NBC and seen you on all the different shows, and you've been featured in People magazine. But today, I'm so excited for you to share a little bit of your background and your personal story, and then we're going to talk about your incredible heart for veterans.
Absolutely.
So tell me what happened to you as a baby.
Well, I was essentially, the Cliff Notes version is I was found along the side of the street, rescued by a South Vietnamese Marine, brought to an orphanage in Da Nang, adopted by a U.S. airman who was serving in Da Nang during the war, brought home in September of '72, raised as an all-American kid in northern Wisconsin on a farm.
You didn't know any different, right?
I didn't know any different because being 10 months old, raised in Wisconsin, I didn't know what life would have been like in Vietnam. So I grew up thinking like I was an American, and I acted like an American, and you know, I grew up eating ice cream and playing basketball, and I ended up knowing though that I had a life of service. So I applied to the U.S. Naval Academy and was accepted, and ended up serving 17 years in the Navy as a surface warfare officer, and got out in 2012 and co-founded a nonprofit called Dixon Center, and my passion to serve veterans and military families was there.
It's incredible. I mean, I know the Cliff Note version for you, but so many amazing key points in there that are so outstanding. So, you know, Mitchell, your last name, that was the soldier that brought you home.
That's
that
correct.
Found you at the orphanage. And what an incredible story I was able to read about the South Vietnam soldier that found you and actually carried you 40 miles
Yes.
to save you. I mean, that is just so incredible. But yet here you are, an American kid. You didn't know any different. You were raised with a wonderful family. They also adopted a brother for you. Is that right?
That's right.
So you had a brother, and you knew in your heart, though, I want to serve.
Absolutely. With my father being retired Air Force, our family was very structured regarding the service to our country and the love for our country. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted that structure. I wanted the opportunity to serve, and I was fortunate enough to be afforded that opportunity to give back.
And the part of giving back that's so amazing about your story is 17 years in the Navy, and you were 3 years from your retirement, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And you made an incredible decision that could not have been easy. Tell me
wasn't.
about that decision you made at the 17-year mark.
Well, the Navy had selected me to be an executive officer of a brand new DDG, but I knew that I could do more for our veterans and military families by resigning my commission and getting out, and that's what I did. The knowledge that I had working for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Mullen, and working with communities nationwide, working with employers, educators, and healthcare providers, linking them to the needs of our service members, military families, and families of the fallen as they transition out. That was critical for me. I knew I could do more by getting out and continuing to serve that way.
And that is your passion now and what you're still carrying into your career. Because I want to tap into a little bit real quick, your heart for the needs for homeless veterans. Tell me about your heart for that. I know you're a big speaker on that.
Absolutely. With my current job right now, I'm working with the population of homeless veterans, and it's a life-changing event. Seeing a veteran come in off the streets, it could be a man or a woman, it could be all generations, Vietnam War, Gulf War, post 9/11, they are coming in broken. They have hit rock bottom. Many of them are addicted to substance abuse. Many of them have mental health issues from combat, from service. It could be post-traumatic stress or traumatic brain injury. But finding those services, those rehabilitation services, those mental health services, that case management, that's critical to get them clean and sober, to get them back on their feet and prepared for a job, get them the job training that they need, find meaningful employment,
Right.
And then finding employers that want to bring in these men and women who have experienced so much and have so much to offer for our veterans
They
and their
deserve it.
families. They absolutely do. They just need to be given a chance. They don't want pity. They just want their recognition of their potential, and they will show you. They'll show you that they can absolutely do anything. Just give them the chance and give them the opportunity. We'll find resources for them to get them the toolbox refilled and get them the tools that they need to survive on their own, to combat the issues that they may be dealing with. But then they're going to return home. They're going to return home to the community. They're going to return home to their families, and they're going to be successful.
They all deserve to come back to families and to have the care that they need.
Absolutely.
And I'm so honored that I got to talk to you today. I know you are absolutely passionate and a front runner for us nationally at speaking out against the homelessness for our veterans that so much deserve to have the help. The hand up, not the handout, right?
That is absolutely right. The
Yeah, it's
hand,
absolutely
the hand
it.
up.
Well, thank you so much, Kim, for your incredible story. Thank you for all the work that you're doing with the veterans and for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll be right back. The next interview that I'm excited to share with you is an interview that Craig Sewing did with a couple of guys that have given back tremendously to our nation, but are now leaders of a foundation that they created called One More Wave. Awesome outreach. Check it out.
All right, now joining me in studio, two men who served as combat veterans. They are now small business owners and the founders of One More Wave. Kyle Buckett, Alex West, co-founders. Thanks for coming into studio here today.
Thanks for having us. Greg.
All right, so you guys served. Thank you first and foremost for your service. Appreciate you coming in. Let's talk about One More Wave. This is a charitable organization that you founded. Kyle, you're the COO, the Chief of Operations, so you're the structured guy. And you are the CEO, Alex, which is more the visionary. At least that's how it works in my business. We're the ones who frustrate the COOs, right?
That sounds familiar.
But tell us about where this all stemmed from, how you founded it. Kick us off.
Sure. I started off as a volunteer surf instructor for Balboa Hospital Surf Clinic, which does surfing for wounded or injured veterans. And I noticed a need for a lot of these veterans for specialized equipment, for amputees, for burn victims, spinal cord injuries. And in March of 2015, I started it with another fellow, James McFadden, and just for that reason, to get that specialized equipment.
So it's not just something where you're actually taking vets out surfing, which I know is part of it, but you're actually creating specialized equipment to help.
That's exactly right, Craig. So what we did was we did a big study just to make sure that we weren't somebody else wasn't doing the exact same thing in San Diego or in Southern California. And we realized there wasn't anybody actually doing that anywhere in the country that just focused on adaptive surfing equipment. So we went down that route and just started cranking out surfboards, tailored wetsuits, and stand-up paddleboards, anything that can get a veteran in a wave body surfing.
Now, I know you guys are combat veterans, but do you both surf as well?
We do.
So it is a passion of yours?
It is.
Now, how'd you get involved?
So James, who Alex was just talking about, was deployed with me a couple of years ago. He got his leg removed. Long story short, he had to have his leg removed. It was a very high amputation. And I remember when I got the call that night, we were in the Middle East, and I got the call, and I remember thinking to myself, wow, you know, what would this do for me? What would this do for my family, for my daughters? How would I react? What kind of depression would I be dealing with if I lost this outlet in surfing, if I lost ocean therapy, if I wasn't able to do it anymore? And I was like, wow, we got to do something. So that's when I came back and I joined with Alex to keep it going, yeah.
So, I mean, which is therapeutic in itself, just being able to go out there and be with other guys and surfing gals out there surfing. So tell us a little bit more about the equipment. Like, how does it work? How can we help? Is there anything that we can do to help you guys grow? Sure. Enlighten us.
So, there was a moment for us once we started getting a little bit of momentum where the easy button would have been to just go to a surf shop and just say to any of the vets, pick out whatever you want. But that would have been the easy way out, right? So we wanted to keep it as customized and as personalized and a world-class solution for each one of these vets. So what we do is we'll line up, we'll get the vet, and then we'll surf with them, and we have a bunch of our boards that are specialized. They have, depending on the injury, handles or some grooves we put inside the board. We might move the fins up and down on the board. Small characteristics for adaptive surfers. And we will have them try each one of these different boards and give us feedback. And we'll also study them, whether it's our organization or we'll bring out shapers that will study and surf with them to actually formulate that personalized custom solution.
Wow.
Yeah, and we also will do personalized graphics in the actual board, so they can make it anything they want. If they wanted a San Diego Padres logo because they're an old Padres fan, they could do it. If they wanted their old unit logo, we could do it. If they wanted just something nice and clean and classic looking, we can do it. But the most important thing is it's their call and it's their own form of art therapy to make it their personalized board.
That's awesome. And then you guys are going out there and actually surfing with them. Give me some stories of an example of a vet that you've been able to help out. I mean, you mentioned an amputee. I'm trying to envision, you know, if you see me surf, like I can't imagine doing it anyway, much less without one of my limbs. Man, the guys that are doing it with you are so brave, and I'm sure that's a small feat for them compared to some of their other service that they've done. But you're creating the unique boards and wetsuits and all this. Like, give me an example of a success story of maybe someone who thought they'd never be able to surf again, but you were able to get them back on the board and back out there.
So I'll tell one of my favorites. Currently, we have a guy named Dan, Lieutenant Dan, ironically. He lost both of his legs in an IED bomb back in Iraq in 2009. He has been doing great in his physical therapy. He's been doing awesome. In fact, he's a para-athlete for the Olympics, for the Adaptive Olympics. And he was starting to surf and get involved in surfing. And we've known Dan for years, you know, and we reached out to him. We were like, hey, man, let's get you aboard. So he slowly started getting into it, and now he's hook, line, and sinker. I mean, if you pull up the video on our YouTube, you can see him literally dropping into a massive wave in Indonesia and just crushing it. So it's pretty cool to watch that transformation of getting him dialed in, getting him custom equipment, and then getting out there and seeing him crush it.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. What you guys are doing is amazing. First of all, again, thank you for your service. But to bring vets together, who we know there's challenges as a country when you all come back, and then certainly to actually tailor this and bring the camaraderie together and create these unique surfboards and equipment, it's pretty awesome. What can we do to help you?
Yeah. Well, we actually have our 6 ways to help us. We've got them on our YouTube channel. There's 6 different ways to help us.
Okay.
Donate. Obviously, we will always accept those donations, so gladly and happily. Donate your time. We have volunteer lists for people that are living in Hawaii, San Diego, and then also Virginia to help volunteer with their time. Amazon Smiles, we're listed on there, and also
like word of mouth, just talking to your friends, family. Just knowing that we're out there is a big deal for us because, you know, we're such a small. You're pretty much looking at the organization right here that represents a bunch of volunteers. However, we're small, you know, so just people knowing that we're out there is a huge deal for us.
Well, I hope people today who are tuned into the show can check out your website, onemorewave.net. I'm sure you can learn a lot there if you want to donate or just spread the awareness. Certainly, as you see this post on social media, please share it. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your service. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us, Chris.
All right, more of Operation American Dream coming up next.
For our military and veterans, to reintegrate back into society is tough enough when they've got PTSD and other issues in coming home. We've got a great expert and someone who firsthand experienced it, Dan Sheehan, who wrote a book who's making a difference in the lives of helping our veterans come home. Check it out. We're back with Operation American Dream. I've got an amazing veteran and self-published author, Dan Sheehan. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you very much for the invitation, Amy.
You came highly recommended and referred to be a wonderful guest here for us to talk about. And the more I read about you and saw what you've done and the books you've written, I knew, okay, can't wait, we get to talk to you. So I want to get right in. You served in the Marines from 96 to 2007.
Yes, that's right. I was a Marine helicopter pilot, so I flew Cobra gunships and had a pretty good decade plus in the service. Really good experiences.
How many deployments?
4. So two before Iraq started, and then 2 combat tours in Iraq in 2003. So in 2003, I flew Cobra gunships during the invasion phase of the Iraq War. And then in 2004, I was back on the ground as a forward air controller with Marine Special Operations Command Detachment 1.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for your service.
Thanks.
And thank you for coming on. Now, I know you came back to transition, and we're going to get into what you wrote about. You wrote an incredible book, After Action, and you're talking about your experience in the military. What made you sit down and decide to write this?
I had a moment about 5 years after my last combat tour, and in that 5-year period, I'd spent a lot of time telling myself I was fine, that there was nothing from Iraq that I needed to go back and relive, figure out. Everything was moving forward from that point on. There was no reason to look back. And then my younger brother, who was also a Cobra pilot, crashed in Afghanistan in a very serious accident. And my reaction to that news made it abundantly clear to me that I was not doing as well as I thought I was, or as I said I was. And so writing After Action became started as my own journey to try and figure out what came home with me from Iraq.
Right.
And so it was a self-discovery, but it didn't start out as boy, I'm going to write a book that I want other people to read. It just started out as my own kind of self-counseling to try and figure out what was going on in my own head. And through the writing process and the editing, I did discover that. And it got to the point.
Therapeutic, isn't it?
Absolutely, very cathartic, and it allowed me to gain a lot of perspective on what I'd been through.
What I love about when you wrote and what happened is after you came back, you're in a different place in life where you then become a stay-at-home dad with your 2 kids, right?
Right.
So it allowed you a place to sit down and write and get this out. But what a completely drastic difference from serving in the military and being a pilot to now being a stay-at-home dad, which is its Oh, you need a complete owner's manual for that, right?
There are times when the peace and calm of flying a gunship in combat was something that I long for with the kids running around the house.
That's a whole different skill set.
It is.
But it allowed you to channel some of this and be able to write. And you decided to self-publish.
I did. Well,
Great decision.
I really have enjoyed the process. Having complete and total control over the product was really important to me. And I used Amazon and CreateSpace and have really enjoyed their platforms and what they allowed me to do. So I've had a great experience with self-publishing.
I want to touch on the second book that you were passionate to write, Continuing Actions, because this is really your heart pouring out to other veterans that are coming home, and you want to help them with that transition. Tell us a little bit about what you wrote in this one.
Well, what I've learned through writing the first book, Through After Action, was that I'd been really, really well prepared to go into combat. I hadn't had any preparation at all for the challenges of coming out and for coming home after combat. That was a big gap in my preparation, and the Marine Corps prepared me extremely well for everything I was ever asked to do. But I was absolutely unprepared for the challenges of coming home.
Right.
And so once I realized that, it was no longer an option for me to go, well, I figured it out myself, so off I go. It's incumbent on me, if I know something that can help my fellow veterans, then I have to share it. And so that became the second book. And the second book is Continuing Actions, and it's a warrior's guide to coming home. And it explains the challenges of coming home as they have been understood for millennia throughout recorded human history. Right. We know that there are challenges of coming home. It's only in modern times that we seem to have forgotten this. And we say, oh my God, what are we going to do to help these people when they come home? Well, these are challenges which have been part of a warrior's journey forever. And there's a lot that we as individual veterans can do to help ourselves through these challenges. It's not all about loading up nonprofits or government programs to help us. We, as individuals, if we understand the challenges that we're going to face, then we can prepare ourselves to deal with them and ask for help or use the help that's available when needed.
Well, I'm super impressed, and I did notice that you have already won awards based on these books, and I want to congratulate you on that, because clearly what you've written and what you've done is making a difference, and it needs to be heard and read. So I wanted to congratulate you on that. Tell me the awards that you got for this.
Some multiple awards from the Independent Publishers Book Awards
Wonderful.
Association, Military Writers Society of America, and gosh, there were a couple of others that I'm drawing a blank on.
That's
right
okay.
now.
I'm so excited that we got to meet you today. I highly encourage everybody to check out your books. Go to your website.
And they're available on Amazon.
Yes. You can find Dan Sheehan, find him on Amazon.
Absolutely.
You're working on your next project, so we're going to have you back to talk about that with the next book and other things that you've got coming up. Thank you for partnering with us today on Operation American Dream and for being such a great guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy.
We'll be back with more Operation American Dream. I am so grateful for every guest that came in here to Operation American Dream and was a part of the show this year. And I'm really excited about what's coming up next for 2018. You can find all the past episodes on the Operation American Dream channel on YouTube, and be ready for another great year. Happy holidays, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again on next year's Operation American Dream.